This is the revision video for the 7th of October workshop. We started with a handshake grip and just an explanation of basic lead and follow. So the things to remember are that the man is leading, he's communicating, and the lady is just following the man's lead just through the hand and through the eyes. If you look at him, you'll get more information that way as well, but not by thinking ahead of what the move is. So we practice that by the man leading the lady back and forwards 1 or 3 steps so that she doesn't know what's coming. So it just looked like this, although we're going to run out of room, and 1 and possibly 1 or 3 back again, whatever. So that was our first little technique-y exercise. When we got on to the moves, we started with some two-handed moves. We did a basic move, which was out and in and out and in. So that was 4 beats. So from now on, I'll count the beats as we demonstrate the move. So that one would have counted like this: 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the important thing there is it's a very simple move in terms of where you're actually going, but it's for the lady to focus on being led away and being drawn in and not doing it because she knows what's coming and at the speed that fits the music, but following the man's hands. The only other little note on that move is to keep the hands reasonably low, either very low or medium, but not up high. The second move was the two-handed flick spin, which went like this: 7, 8, back on 1, to the left on 2, to the right on 3, flick on 4, ready to step back into the next move. And the things to remember on that is to bring the hands together. So you send your lady away. As you draw her in, bring the hands together and make sure that you're drawing her forwards before you take her sideways. So she comes in, once she's travelling, then you take it to the left, keeping your hands together, and to the right together, flick together, and when you catch, as you step apart for the next move, the hands go back to a normal position. It looks better if you keep your hands down nice and low at waist level, but it's always a habit for the leader to start bringing them up before doing the final flick, but it looks much better if they're kept down at waist level. Third move was the change places, which started with half of the basic move that we've already done, which was just out and in. Then we did a change places to our right hand side, out to the right hand side, turn and away. Then we did another in and apart, and then another change places, into the side and away. So there's a bit more to that move. As you bring your lady in, you still keep the hands down low or middling, but not up here. So that's one thing to remember. Then when we get to the changing places, it's important to come in fully to the side of your lady. And my left hand is bent, my right hand is straight, and my lady's left arm is bent and right arm is straight. Then as we pivot, start leading your lady away early, and ladies, as soon as you feel that push developing on the turn, push back so that you can get a spring away. And that's really all there is to say on that move. Then we have the man spin, which is a one-handed move, so it's man's left to lady's right, and we send our lady away. As we draw her to us, we draw her straight past us, and we walk forward past her. As we do that, we turn our back on the lady and place her hand on the waist. So then we keep travelling and pick up with the left hand again, but it feels more natural, it is correct, to reverse the arm, which feels odd for a moment. But then we step in for the return, lady turns, and we lower, we step apart into the next move, and the hand comes back to the normal position. So at speed, that one looks like 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, and step back on the beginning of the next move. So the actual changing places and putting the hand on the waist and so on is fairly straightforward. That went very well. The return is always the tricky part, and it's always, as I said during the workshop, always tempting to just stir your arm round your lady because it feels like it's easier for the man, it's easier, it's quicker, you can keep up with the music, And all of that's true, but it means you're doing it wrong. So it is essential to do it, break it down into 3 parts. From the left to the right, across the lady's face, and up to the middle of her head, and allow her to turn. So that's part 1. Part 2 is lowering, and part 3 is stepping apart into the next move. So that's probably the most difficult thing to remember of everything we learnt for the men, and the thing to focus on as much as possible. We then did another move, the step across, which is very similar, and it looks like this: 7, 8, out on 1, under the arm on 2, face on 3, return on 4, and step back into the next move. So for this one, when you're placing the hand on the waist, it's not as subtle a move. The lead, the tension and the relaxation isn't quite so important. On this one it is more important. So as you bring your lady in and bring her to pass you on your right hand side, you need tension to do that. She's pulling away from you, you use that tension to set her moving, but as soon as she's moving you can relax and take the hand in a very relaxed fashion up in the air, so that as you go underneath it stays relaxed, you turn it stays relaxed, you lower, still relaxed, and as soon as you start to push your lady away, she resists and you get that little spring apart. And then the return, again across the face, and wait till she's facing you, then lower and step away. We then did a variation on the man spin, which included a travelling return instead of a stationary return. So it looked like this: 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, and apart on beat 1 for the preparation for the next move. So for the travelling return, not much technique to explain, it's just a case of watching your lady as she goes past and focusing on getting the hand to the middle of her head and following her wherever she is as she goes past. So she's apart, as she goes past, my focus is on her, not on where I'm going. So I'm walking across, but I'm not thinking about that, I'm thinking about my lady. So as she goes past, I'm watching the middle of her head to make sure I'm doing the return nicely for her, and we step apart. So my focus is completely on her. My feet aren't doing anything complicated, so I don't need to think about them. We then went on to the arm jive, a 2-handed move, which looked like this: 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and step back to the next move. It's a 7-beat move, not a nice number of counts. As I explained on the day, we would do a double return to make it into an 8-beat move. So when you're familiar with it, you can try that later on. So the things to say about that are, we've gone back into 2 hands, and the sending the lady away is straightforward. As we bring her in, we bring the hands nice and low and nice and relaxed. So there's tension to start to bring her in. As soon as she's travelling, we can relax. We turn to the left, and our shoulders move, our arms move, because our body's turning, not because we're pushing them. They just turn in a relaxed, natural fashion, and the lady follows that. We then twist to the right, and the lady follows that. As we twist to the left the 3rd time, the left hand comes up to the shoulder, and that's keeping the right hand low, a good signal to the lady that this is going to change now, because the 2 arms are no longer both down low, and that's because we're going to do the turn. So we pull with the right, push with the left, let go with the right, and step away, and then we step in for the return, which is the same as the returns we've already done, and we step away. And there's nothing more to say about that. It's the relaxedness of the arms when we do the twist, that's the thing that catches everybody out. And the final normal move is the first move, although we did a variation afterwards, which we'll add at the end. So the first move looked like this: 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and step back for the next move. So this is much more tricky, and footwork matters in this move. So we'll go through it in a bit of detail. Sending away is straightforward. We're going to bring our lady in. She's moving as if she's going to pass our right hand side. She won't know whether she's going to or not. She'll only discover that when we come to a standstill, when we move together. So we bring her towards us, we step into her side, and our right arm stops her by placing the right arm on the waist, and all our feet are now in line. We've changed the left hand to ballroom grip from the Jive grip. The man's now going to step back with his right and at the same time push down towards the ground with his left hand, and the ladies will resist strongly with their right arm so that he can use that to do the turn for them, to do the work for them in the turn. And at the same time, the man will use his right hand on the lady's waist to stop her drifting away from him, keep her close. So all that happens at the same time, and we end up in this position. The exit is much more straightforward. We simply lift the left hand and very assertively, with the right hand in the small of the back, we send our lady across. Because we haven't let go of this hand, she will naturally turn to face. Then we step in for the return that we've done so many times before. Then we did a variation on that, which was the first move, lean, which will shuffle around slightly so you can see it better. And this began the same. We sent the lady out, we brought her in, so far identical. But at this stage, we then check that we're in contact all the way down the lady's side, because if not, it's very scary for her. So we're in contact and comfortable position against each other, made slightly more secure by slightly bringing the lady in with pressure on her waist, so she knows that she's being held against you and is going to be held securely during the lean. Tiny step to the left, and then do nothing except bend the left knee, and that will keep your body straight. Little lean in your own time. You then come up, bring your feet back together, and if you're going to carry on with the first move, you then push down and turn her out, etc., and complete the first move. It's the end of the song. You don't need to do that. You can just stand up, and that's the end. So that was our moves. We then did some exercises. We did the spinning exercise, where we were going to practice spinning to the left, so we took everything to the right. We stepped back with the right foot, we put our weight on it, we turned our body to the right, and we took our arms to the right. Then we moved forward, put the weight on the left foot, brought the arms round to the end of their travel, and then once they'd reached the end of their travel, we allowed our body to follow, did a quarter turn, and stopped in perfect balance. Then we did the opposite. We went back with our left foot, put the weight on it, turned to the left, arms to the left, put the arms round as we transferred the weight onto our right foot, did a quarter turn and finished in balance. While we were doing that, the foot that we weren't pivoting on, so when we were doing the left hand turn, we put the weight on the left foot, that's what the one we're pivoting on. The right foot comes in and just scuffs the floor as close to the left foot as possible, as close to the floor as possible without putting any weight on it, as we did that quarter turn, and the same the other way around. So that was spinning. We also did an exercise for getting on the balls of our feet, getting in practice of balance without having to use the heels, where we started with a running on the spot, and then we went to both feet together, and then with the feet apart, bouncing from foot to foot, so from one to the other and back. And then if you wish to, you can then bring your other foot across without touching down, so that it's not helping you with your balance, it's just forcing a pause to make you stay in balance on one foot or the other for a little bit longer. And if you keep that up, that will massively improve your balance.